What's up, y'all? My name's Jacob Klugas, Work the Crowd. Um, this is going to be something we're doing that's new, where you all are going to kind of get to know us on a personal, more level by doing our own personal videos. So I have a lot of different stuff that I'd like to talk about that Brandon and Doug just don't have the knowledge on. They haven't done the research that I've done, and that's not a knock on them. I'm just an addict for stuff like this. So, over the course of the next couple days, weeks, not really sure how long or how consistent this is gonna come out. I'm gonna be giving you NFL draft um, topics, and the topics over the next couple weeks are going to be my top 10 players at each position in the NFL draft, based on research that I've done, what I've seen on film, and stuff like that. Um, so I'm I- I'm not gonna lie. You all know me. I like to be spicy, and I'm gonna get spicy right off the bat. We're gonna start off with the quarterback position, um, the most important position in football. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, you're not gonna win a whole lot of games, especially maybe even a Super Bowl. So, with that being said, we're diving right in. Now, keep in mind these are going to be shorter videos. These aren't, your typical hour-long podcast video. My camera keeps shaking. I don't know why. Um, these aren't going to be your typical hour-long podcast episodes. These are going to be short and sweet. I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can, but please keep in mind with a lot of these rankings, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details with a lot of these players. The top players, I definitely will, but these other guys, not so much. So, with that being said, we're starting off with quarterbacks, like we said. So let's go right to the quarterback position. Number 10 for me, going from 10 to 1. Number 10, Austin Reed from Western Kentucky. Um, do I think he can start in the NFL? Probably not. Now, granted, there have been guys that have gone in the later rounds, which if Austin Reed gets drafted, it will be in the later round. It'll be in the 5 through 7 round. But he is a solid quarterback. Comes from an air raid system at Western Kentucky. Um, his big time throw percentage is off the charts. Um, he has one of the higher deep ball grades per PFF. Um, he actually adjusted completion percentage is actually very good. Again, big time throw rate is high. It's air raid. I'm not really a big fan of quarterbacks coming from an air raid style offense in college, because air playing that where you're throwing the ball so many times, your stats and stuff can be a little misleading. Um, so um, again, we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail, especially with these lower guys. I got Austin Reed at number 10. Number 9, I've got Talia Tagovailoa out of Maryland. Now with Talia, deep ball grade again. He's even better than Austin Reed. He's got a big time arm. Where he struggles is the mechanics in the short and medium range throws. I think Talia can absolutely be a solid backup quarterback. I think he could even be potential as to be, if your quarterback gets hurt and he has to be your quarterback, in the right system, he could be a serviceable starter for you. If your quarterback gets hurt. So, um, I'm actually a fan of Talia. Um, but with that being said, moving on, number 8, Spencer Rattler of South Carolina, formerly of Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler had a whole lot of promise coming out of high school. He was one of the top-rated quarterbacks coming out of high school. Going to Oklahoma, obviously, with Lincoln Riley, who has been considered the quarterback whisperer. I even went as far as to say, if you all have followed me in my podcast career, back when I started with Les, I went as far as to say Spencer Rattler is the next Patrick Mahomes. Do I wish I could go back in time and take that back? Yeah. But with that being said, Spencer Rattler, I feel like could pan out on again. a lot of these quarterbacks and how they pan out is based on your situation you get drafted to. I do think Spencer Rattler, if he were to put in the work, get drafted by the right team, I do honestly believe that Spencer Rattler could start in the NFL. Um, it's just a matter of fit, system, and if he's willing to put in the work to improve. Moving on, number 7, same with this guy, Michael Pratt out of Tulane. I think in the right situation, Michael Pratt is a starting quarterback in the NFL. I was actually a huge fan of Michael Pratt. Talk about a guy that has a little bit of everything in his game, where big time throw rate is there, the short and medium range throws are there, the clutch gene is there. If you remember watching Tulane versus USC in that bowl game last year against Caleb Williams, the big time throw rate is there. The only issue I would really have with Michael Pratt that stands out for me is when the pass rush does come. He's not necessarily the greatest under pressure. And that's something you can work with in the NFL. Again, right system. I could see if a team like, let's just say the Los Angeles Rams, took a chance on Michael Pratt, who could sit the next 1, 2, 3 years, however long Matthew Stafford has left, under the Sean McVay system, 100% Michael Pratt could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think the more logical, realistic level is he's a backup in the NFL. And that's backup quarterback is arguably one of the more important positions in football. You don't know, especially with the way that quarterbacks go down here recently, you don't know what can happen to your quarterback. So you need a serviceable backup. And I think Michael Pratt is more than a serviceable backup and a potential starter in the near future. Moving on, these next guys, I think 100% should be eventually and could be starters in the NFL. 6, Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. Guy throws the prettiest ball out of everybody in the draft. Kind of reminds you a little bit of CJ Stroud a little bit in terms of the ball placement, how the ball looks coming out of his hand. It's what's really holding back Michael Penix is the injury history. The injury history is really what's going to hold back Michael Penix from being drafted as a top quarterback. Because if he didn't have the injury history, 100%, Michael Penix Jr. would be taken probably within the top 10 of the NFL draft. But the problem is a lot of GMs, a lot of coaches are going to have issues with his injury history and say, he's had a history of getting hurt. I don't want to take the chance of taking him first round, top 10 pick, and he gets hurt first year again. So, but he grades so high as a quarterback. If you going off PFF grades alone, I can argue he grades better than Drake May and Caleb Williams. But again, it's the injury history. That's really what's going to hold him back from being drafted. Next, I kind of have a 4A and 4B, and here's why. So with both of these quarterbacks, one of them I think for sure, really wherever he gets drafted, is probably going to be a starter and probably going to be pretty good. The other one, it's really going to depend on fit. So under the right fit, I would have this guy ranked above the other guy. But if he doesn't go to the right team and the right fit, the other guy is going to be better than him. So the guy that I'm saying based off fit, who's 4B for me, is JJ McCarthy. And then 4A, who I think could be good no matter what, would be Bo Nix. If JJ McCarthy ends up on the right team, and when I say the right team, we're looking at I'm looking at you, Minnesota Vikings, or Denver Broncos. If he ends up on one of those two teams and Bo Nix ends up on some other team, we could be looking back at JJ McCarthy as being one of the better quarterbacks in this draft class, if not the best. That's how talented he is. And I don't want to hear he wasn't allowed to throw at Michigan, and he was bailed out by the run game and yada 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 and all this and that. He didn't have to. he didn't have to showcase it because that's how good Michigan was. As bad as it pains me to say that, but as good as Michigan was, he didn't have to do any of that. But in the moments, in the small moments when JJ McCarthy had to make throws and show you that he can throw the ball, he performed and showed you that arm talent. He's athletic. He's got the big arm. He can make the unhingy plays. He can make the right reads. He can throw the ball in the medium and short range. He can throw the ball deep. JJ McCarthy, we could be looking back here in 3-4 years and going, why wasn't that guy taken higher? And then for Bo Nix, listen, if he ends up on, I think the perfect scenario for Bo Nix is the Denver Broncos. He's literally a miniature version, and when I say miniature, I'm not talking about in size. Miniature version of Drew Brees. He is what Drew Brees was essentially. And again, kind of like what I was talking about with Michael Penix, Bo Nix, PFF, analytics wise, grades as one of the best quarterbacks in the class. So Bo Nix, he's one of the ones that I think if he were to end up on the Vikings, the Broncos, the Raiders, I think he could be very good wherever he goes. I think that's because that's his style of play. His style of play kind of fits a lot of different systems. But if JJ McCarthy were to end up on the Vikings or Broncos, where that team is going to groom him into what he can be, and he's going to have the right pieces around him, JJ McCarthy can be considered 1, 2, 3 quarterback in this class. So that's 4A, 4B for me. Really just depends on fit and everything for me when I'm separating those two. So here's when I said at the beginning of the video, we're going to get spicy. We're going to get spicy. Because number 3 for me is Caleb Williams. I am well aware Caleb Williams is going to, we'll just go ahead and say it. He's going to go number 1. He's going to go number 1 to the Chicago Bears. Me personally, I wouldn't take him number 1. I understand he is 100% one of the more talented quarterbacks we have seen. Not disputing that. I have an issue. I have an issue, first of all, with the Patrick Mahomes comparison because he's not Patrick Mahomes. If you ask me for a better comparison for him, it's Josh Allen. He's not as big as Josh Allen, but he's just a guy that wants to take the deep shot in the home run play all the time. It doesn't take his check down. And that's an issue. It's what separates Mahomes from Josh Allen. You got to learn to take your check downs. And I have a huge issue with his own teammates at USC during the bowl game saying out loud, we actually have a quarterback now when Caleb Williams wasn't playing. That's an issue to me. That means you don't have the locker room. You can't gather the troops in the locker room. And as my franchise quarterback, if you can't gather the troops in the locker room, how can I draft you number 1 overall? So that's me. I'm not taking anything away from the talent Caleb is. 100% talented. Now, all these people that say he'd go number 1 in a class with Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and all the... No, he won't. Quit living in the moment. He wouldn't. Okay. But it's just, there's a whole outside of football, of on the field. Take away the fact of he, likes to take the home run play and all that I've mentioned. Take that away. There's a whole lot of non-football related issues I have with Caleb Williams. Part of that is, can he face adversity? And everybody keeps going back to the fact, he didn't have an offensive line this year. That's why he had a down year and everything. You're not always going to be put in a perfect scenario in the NFL. So if at the first sign of adversity where you have to face with, no O-line, no receivers, whatever it is, that you crumble, again, how can I take you number 1 overall? So if I was the Chicago Bears, I'd have stuck with Justin Fields. And that's not even me just being an Ohio State guy. I'm liking Justin Fields. I'd have stuck with Justin Fields. You already got Keenan Allen. You already got DJ Moore. You got Cole Kmet. You brought in DeAndre Swift. I'd have drafted Marvin Harrison. You would have had a hell of a wide receiver core with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Marvin Harrison Jr., DeAndre Swift at running back, draft a defensive guy at number 9, and you would have been set. But they're going to go this route. They're going to draft Caleb. I'm well aware of that. My player rankings do not affect where they end up in the draft because I still view players in a certain way. So, moving on. Number 2, I have Jayden Daniels of LSU. This guy, he really reminds me, and this is a hell of a trio combination, I understand, and it's not realistic, but he is RG3, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts kind of molded together. The way he throws the ball reminds me a lot of CJ Stroud. His leadership reminds me of Jalen Hurts, and then the ability to be able to run, make the big play with your feet and arm reminds me of RG3. I think wherever he goes, he's going to impact the offense like that because of his ability to run and throw. So, and this is a guy that got better every year. But, his freshman year at Arizona State, we saw it. We were just like, hey, that's a guy to keep our eye on in the future because he popped. Had a down year his second year at Arizona State. Winds up with Brian Kelly at LSU. Has a pretty good year, his first year under Brian Kelly, and then wins the Heisman the next year. Now, you could say, oh, well, he had Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas and all that. We said the same thing with Joe Burrow when he had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Joe Burrow is still Joe Burrow. Jayden Daniels will still be Jayden Daniels. And when we're looking at the way the NFL is moving, Jayden Daniels is the prototype quarterback for the way the NFL is going. And number 1, if you haven't guessed it already for me, is Drake May. This guy's Justin Herbert 2.0. I am a big fan of Drake May. I think if I'm Chicago with the number 1 pick, and I get it, I said I would stick with Justin Fields, but if I decided, hey, I'm going on, I'm moving forward, new quarterback, all this, I'm taking Drake May. 1, he's better suited for cold weather as a big body quarterback with a strong arm. 2, I think everything that he brings to the table, I think he's a better thrower. Arm talent wise, he's not better than Caleb Williams. But when we're talking about just straight from the pocket thrower, I think he's better than Caleb Williams. You look at this guy's adjusted completion percentage; it's pretty good. Big time throw rate, pressure rate. Dude was under pressure a lot in North Carolina. North Carolina's offensive line the last 2 years hasn't been the greatest. But my thing is, when you're not being pressured, when you have an O-line, we saw the same thing from Caleb Williams. Drake May's it's automatic. If the ball's leaving his hand with no pressure, it's going to be a completed pass. Big time throw rate is one of the highest in the draft class. He gets the ball out real quickly. So quick release on the throw, big arm. You can make every throw, and he's athletic and mobile. Led his team in rushing. I believe was one of his team leaders in rushers. The dude has the total package. He's a Josh Allen body with Justin Herbert's talent. So, to me, he's surefire. He's the safe bet of this draft. I have Drake May number 1. So, again, before we call it right here, we'll go over the top 10 once again. So, 10. Or number 1, Drake May. We'll start from 1 and go to 10. 2, Jayden Daniels of LSU. 3, Caleb Williams of USC. 4A and 4B, Bo Nix of Oregon. J.J. McCarthy of Michigan. 6, Michael Penix Jr. of Washington. 7, Michael Pratt of Tulane. 8, Spencer Rattler of South Carolina. 9, Talia Tagovailoa of Maryland. And number 10, Austin Reed of Western Kentucky. So yeah, that's my top 10 quarterbacks. As we dive into these other positions, I'm going to tell you right now, those 10 are kind of, a lot of people pretty much know them from the quarterback position. I will tell you the theme of my my top tens, because there are a lot of guys in these top tens at other positions that people have never heard of before. So my theme of these draft rankings from here on out are going to be, if you've never heard of them, don't just automatically assume I'm, just going for the spicy take of, I'm just picking them just for the spicy take. If you've never heard of them, take your time. Just go watch film. Okay. I'm not telling you got to go do all the research and look up the analytics and look up all that. Don't even look up their stats. Stats don't tell the entire story. If you don't know who they are, watch film. That's all I ask. Watch film. Just simply watching film on a lot of these guys will tell you why I think so highly of them. So, with that being said, that wraps up my first video of NFL draft rankings, position rankings. Stay tuned. Probably just going to go down straight in order after this. If there is a specific position you want to see me do next, let me know. Let me know in the comments. This is going on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's a position you want to see. If not, we're just going to continue just going straight down in order. So, yeah, with that being said, my name is Jacob Klugas. We are signing off.